Okay, today I'm going to be canning pickled onions and a few more pickled items, and I'll share those in a minute. But these are onions I grew, and they're very small. So we're peeling them all. There's enough for about 3/4 of a full recipe of pickled onions. And so I've got my jars ready inside, but right now we're just getting these peeled outside. Over here, I've got my vinegar, which is 4 1/8 cups. Got 3/4 of a cup of water, a teaspoon and a half of canning salt, 6 teaspoons of mustard seed, 3 teaspoons of celery seed, 1 1/2 cups of sugar. That looks pretty rough, but it'll dissolve whenever I get ready for making the brine. And I've got my onions over here. They've been peeled and washed now. Okay, the next thing to do is combine the vinegar . It's 4 1/8 cups of vinegar and just a little 3/4 of a cup of water for this recipe because I'm only doing 3/4 of the total recipe. The vinegar, the water, the salt, and the sugar goes in to make the brine. Okay, I'm going to bring this to a boil, and it says to boil it for 3 minutes. Then I'll add the onions, and then I boil those for 5 minutes. You can see the sugar completely dissolved in here. It hasn't quite come to a boil. I have a timer set for 3 minutes, and I'll start the timer when it does come to a boil. Let me tell you, leaning over boiling vinegar is a lot of fun. Anyway, this recipe comes from the NCHFP, which is the USDA Outreach Extension of University of Georgia, and it's a tested recipe for safety. I've used this recipe before, and it's very, very good, and we love these pickled onions. And the fact that we grew them ourselves, see, they look kind of green because they've been laying out a while, but we did get all the outside parts off, and whether they stay green or not, I don't know. But if they do, they do. I don't care because they'll still taste good. Anyway, as soon as this gets to a boil, I'll set my timer, let it boil for 3 minutes, and then I'll dump the onions in it, bring it back to a boil, and let them boil for 3 minutes, and I will link you the recipe down in the description box. Okay, my brine has been boiling for 3 minutes. Now I'm going to dump the onions into it. Look, I got a lot more brine than what I needed. It's okay. I can use it for something else. Then I'll bring that back to a boil, and I've got my timer set for 5 minutes, so I'll let that boil for 5 minutes when it comes back. Got my jars in my canner getting hot. I've got my funnel here and my bowl that I always set stuff in. Got a chopstick to debubble with. I'll use this to lift the onions out, and then I'll use this to get the brine out. And I've got they're hanging up. My jar lifters are hanging up. So let me get my lids and rings while this is coming to a boil. Okay, my onions are through with their boil, and I've got them turned off. Well, I'm turning completely off now. I've got my jars hot and ready. Now, I've got to put my spices in it. You can use any kind of dried spices you want in pickling. This calls for a teaspoon of mustard and a 1/2 teaspoon of the celery seed in each one. Since I'm operating this one-handed, let me get the spices in the jar. Okay, I've got the spices in there. Put my funnel in and start with onions. You go to a 1/2 inch headspace. Let's see how that looks. A little bit higher, not much. There we go, that's about a 1/2 inch. I've got a damp cloth. This is a clean cloth. Wipe the rim of my jar. I don't know if you can hear that, it's starting to rain. It's going to get loud here in a minute. This is a clean, you don't have to boil your lids. Y'all just wash them and set aside, and I have a whole bag of these that are washed up and ready to use. Put this over here and do it. Okay, that's as tight as it needs to go. Put it in there and fill the rest of them that I can fill. Okay, I came out with 2.5 pints pickled onions, and they're not done yet. I haven't processed them yet. But I misspoke a while ago. It should have been 2 teaspoons of mustard seeds in each one of these, and I had only put 1, but I went back and put the other in there, so it's all in there just right. So now I'm going to put the lid on and start processing. Okay, I've got the lid on. I'm just waiting for steam to come out of here, and that'll be, once it does, and this reaches the right spot on the gauge, which should be way around here in the dark green, I'll start my timer for 10 minutes. That's the only processing they get. Alright, can you see it's gone into the dark green part? So we've set the timer for 10 minutes. When the timer goes off, I'll turn off the heat, let the jar sit in there for 5 minutes, and then I'll remove them. Okay, it's really raining good now. Anyway, so here's our pickled onions. Pop in. Good job. And then this little 1/2 pint, which is pretty cute. Okay, 2.5 pints of pickled onions. And I'm hoping one of these, this one, should be alright to put in the fair in September. Thanks for watching.